ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
It is Monday, June 8th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can join the program by calling the Miller Lite phone lines at 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. Miller Lite, hold true, great taste. Only 96 calories it is. The original light beer coming up this hour. We're going to hear from Chuck McGill. Chuck's got such a long title. He does so many things that I'm just going to say Chuck McGill from Marshall when we bring him on the program here in the next few minutes. So I'm looking forward to talking to him. We talked to him about a couple of months ago, close to maybe a couple of weeks or so after the pandemic began. And I kind of want to get a feel from him what's been going on since. Chuck, of course, involved with a lot of things on campus, including a lot of what happens with the social media account, Herd Zone. You read his content on a really a wide array of topics, everything concerning Marshall. So he's got his hand in a lot of projects, and we're going to talk to him, get an update. Plus, as I mentioned, we'll get your phone calls in. Looking forward to that. It's been kind of quiet, not much to really talk about, nothing major as far as drastic changes in the landscape since we last spoke. More or less, we know the NHL starting to get going again. Phase 2 is beginning for them, so we'll hear more about that. We'll figure out what the NBA is going to look like here soon. Major League Baseball, I don't think we're really anywhere with Major League Baseball. College football still trying to get themselves to a point where they can at least play football on time, on schedule, if possible. So that's where we're at right now. Some things are coming out in the news as far as more individual changes to Conference USA. I mean, that's one thing. Grant Traylor had his story last week, and there was a follow-up from the Daily Press, which covers Conference USA schools as well. And according to David Hall from the Daily Press, there's something else. I don't know if I had heard this already, but conference basketball games. Here's some interesting things. Women's conference basketball games must start no earlier than noon and no later than 2 p.m. if the visiting team can depart that evening. Weekend men's and women's soccer games are not going to start after 2 p.m., so it's going to be a little earlier. Roster sizes for cross-country, indoor and outdoor track, and swimming and diving are going to be reduced. Of course, we already know that the men's soccer championship tournament is going to be eliminated, and the women's tournament is going to be reduced to 8 teams, and the league will sponsor beach volleyball as a conference sport. I hadn't heard that. That's something that I talked about years ago with Mitch Jacobs, half in jest, and this is when we were in that Olympic cycle and watching the Americans just dominate as they always do. Because after all, beach volleyball is the most American sport possible. You got sun, you got fun, you got the beach volleyball, and really 2-on-2 volleyball in the beach setting is exciting and fun. I don't know where you stand on volleyball, but if you think the team sport isn't good enough for you, or there's too much to follow, too much action there, you can't handle that, try beach volleyball. 2-on-2. It's super competitive. It's very good. So check that out. You know what? That'd be cool. We could get some sand pits over there. We could have Marshall Beach. You know what? That's an Ari Agnes question. Marshall Beach volleyball. Can we make that happen? I'm going to talk to her about that. I want to see where we are. Maybe I'll talk to Jake Agnes, Director of Operations. Let's see if he can give me some insight on that. So Chuck McGill's coming up here in a few minutes, and we're going to talk about a lot of topics. Maybe I'll mention beach volleyball to him. I'm looking forward to doing that with him. But as I mentioned, not much really happening. So over the weekend, I watched a little NASCAR, live sports. I watched some of that, and ESPN has been killing it as of late with 30 for 30. Now, I'm going to admit, I didn't watch the Lance Armstrong 30 for 30, the two-parter, because I'm not that into Lance Armstrong. I'm over Lance Armstrong, and I'm kind of getting I'm getting the note from the studio that it's not worth it. So I've got it recorded. So not worth it? Okay, that's what I'm hearing. I did watch last night Be Water. It was the Bruce Lee 30 for 30. Now, Bruce Lee is by far probably one of the most athletic human beings that ever walked the earth. So if you want to put athleticism as a requirement for a 30 for 30, Bruce Lee meets the requirement. I've been a Bruce Lee fan since childhood, as far as I can remember. And of course, Bruce hit stardom tragically after his death. And I mean Hollywood superstardom. I mean global acclaim, Enter the Dragon, and there was such a cultural impact Bruce Lee had. If you know anything about Bruce Lee, you know the trials and tribulations that he has lived through. Come on, this is a guy that at one point was hanging out with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, teaching him, Steve McQueen, James Colburn. You know, he was sort of the counterculture in Hollywood. I mean, Steve McQueen was probably at the height of his Hollywood power and presence, and he's hanging out with Bruce Lee. And of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, at the time, one of the most visible basketball players ever, he's hanging out with Bruce Lee. So I was excited to watch this. I want to see where they took this, and I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't where I thought they would go. And if you haven't seen this, you should see it. If you're a Bruce Lee fan, watch it. That's my first recommendation. If you're interested in Bruce Lee and you want maybe a proper introduction, I think this might serve as a great way to introduce you to Bruce Lee. And again, ESPN's been killing it with their 30 for 30s. Here's a man who was born in America. His family's Chinese. He was born in America. He goes back to Hong Kong with his family before the outbreak of the war. He comes back 18 years old, and the documentary talks about that journey. And really, this was a story about Bruce Lee and him struggling against racism in America. And of course, his path back to Hong Kong, merging as a superstar, because he was a child actor there as well. So he merges as a superstar there, and then he gets to finally have that opportunity and shot to be a leading man in Hollywood. And he tragically never gets to see, I guess, the impact of what his life was and was going to be. Enter the Dragon, one of the biggest movies released that year. And of course, if you're a fan of martial arts movies, you know what I'm talking about. It's probably one of the best movies ever. This is a great introduction. I thought, even though it's not intentional, obviously very relevant in today's times. So I suggest you check it out. I really don't want to spoil too much about it. I will say this, some of the things that they didn't touch on. Now, this is only a 2-hour 30 for 30. And it hit some aspects that maybe I wasn't as familiar with, or I really needed a refresher. But if you're looking to find out how Bruce Lee came up with his martial arts, if you're looking for maybe some insight on things like his unfinished work, Game of Death, things like that, if you're looking for some of those aspects, this isn't going to be it. But if you want a primer, an introduction to Bruce Lee as a man, as a pop icon, what he was really after, what he was trying to do, and then his struggles, this is definitely a documentary you should watch. I was really excited to watch it, and then I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And 2 hours, it really felt like it didn't fall under its own weight. I mean, again, there's some omissions here in this production. There's some things it didn't touch on. Probably a good thing, because you can't go and encompass Bruce Lee in 2 hours. But if you give us a certain journey and a certain piece of his life, you have some focus there, I think, hey, this is your first steps into discovering him athletically, philosophically, and his journey really a unique one. So I applaud ESPN. 30 for 30 has been killing it as of late. Chuck McGill is coming on the program. He's going to be our guest when we continue. Chuck, of course, is Mr. Go-To for everything at Marshall University. We'll talk to him when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Don't worry. Paul Swann has the wheel on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Welcome back to today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I want to welcome to the program now a gentleman that I've had the pleasure to know for a long time. He has got one of the longest titles at Marshall University. That's because he's that important. The Assistant Athletic Director for Fan Donor Engagement and Communications at Marshall University, Chuck McGill, with us on the program. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm here.
I appreciate you coming. I understand that there was some serious negotiation over the weekend on your appearance. You had a writer. I understand there was a writer involved. Some things that we had to honor and some things that you would do or would not do.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to dress up. I didn't want to get fancy for this, and I know it's a fancy show, and you're classy individuals, and it's a first class operation. But I like to keep it simple. So I needed to make sure that I would be comfortable coming on the radio with you today, and I am.
Okay, I appreciate that. I would ask how comfortable you are, but I think I'm going to leave that to the imagination.
There you go.
You've been pretty busy. We talked about this a couple months ago. You don't have a playbook for what we're going through right now, and we're a couple months plus into this now. And has the playbook gotten bigger, or is it still a scratch pad full of notes? What's the playbook look like?
It's still, the word fluid comes to mind every day. It seems like, whether it's something that we're learning, within our athletic department, something that, we're trying to plan for, or something with the virus itself, more information comes about, we gather more knowledge and we start to piece together, the best way to go forward. And, essentially the framework has stayed the same in that we are continue to plan and approach, the start of the athletics calendar on schedule. And you prepare for that best case scenario, and then you prepare for any number of scenarios that are less than ideal below that, and hope you don't have to go that way. But unfortunately, you got to consider all the options so far. And so, yeah, you stay busy. Things have gotten even busier as we've kind of reopened a little bit and reintegrated our staff. For the past couple of weeks, we were at 25% capacity for each department. Now my department is myself, Steve Cotton, Alyssa Kozak, who oversees our digital network, Herd Vision, and Jake Griffith, who is on-air talent and our director of multimedia. So that's my department. We were at 25% until today, and today we upped it to 50%. So we're slowly bringing people back, getting people used to being on campus, not working remotely all the time, being around, being able to see faces and all that good stuff. So it's been a slow work in progress. Started the second week of voluntary workout. So just keep adding little pieces to the puzzle and getting closer to that August 29th football day and bringing these other sports back. Okay,
let me make sure I got my math correct. You have a department, including yourself, of 4 people.
That's correct.
Okay, you were 25%. That was you.
Yes, because I am the head of the department.
Fair. So now it's at 50%. Which person got told, come on in, and the other 2 stay at home? I'm curious.
So it's a little tricky.
Okay.
Steve Cotton is only working through this week, and then he's taking his usual summer voyage to Michigan, which usually lasts several weeks. And then we've got to have Jake on campus for some video things. So I'm juggling those 2 and rotating them in and out of the office. And then we trend toward, I believe it's June 22nd, we can up it to 75%. And then in July, we can go full 100%. So I'll have my whole army back on campus sometime in July.
How difficult has it been to execute everything you want with everyone not being in the same home or same base? I know with Jake, he's all over the place. He's got, projects that he's posting all the time, video. I know with you can write from anywhere. The voice, of course, needs games to call, so we need to get him some games. But what's the challenge has been a couple months in?
The big challenge, I think, is that well, number one, we really do enjoy being around each other, and there's the creative element between Jake, Alyssa, Steve, Tyler Abel, who's assistant AD for marketing, Jason Corrier, Cole Woodrum, all these people who are part of our external operation. It's much easier, to kind of bounce ideas off each other and not let something slip through the cracks when you're in the same building or on the same campus. But everyone's been great. It's been easy to get in touch with people. I just got off the phone with Jake Griffith a little bit ago. I've been texting with Tyler Abel, been texting with Melissa Kozak. So there's plenty of things we've been able to do and keep going through this. So there have been challenges, but I've obviously been elated how this has all gone, because when we started out in March, we didn't know what was mid-June was going to look like. Were we going to have jobs? What was going to happen? And we're all still here. We're all still kicking, and we're creating content, and everything is getting more optimistic by the day.
I think that's the big challenge for anyone, is creating content when you don't have your usual flow. Of course, booking for this show has been very challenging, creative. Thankfully, we can book gentlemen like yourself to come on and tell us what's going on. But for you, without activities, student athletes on campus, you've got to be a little bit more creative, and you have been over the last couple of months.
Yeah, for me, it's been an extreme challenge, because when this position was created for me, to replace Jack Bogacek, Jack had a more independent role as far as, he was a director of publications, and his, it was streamlined, writing and radio and messaging and stuff like that. Well, when I came in, Mike Hamrick put me on his senior staff, and he made me an administrator. And so when things like this happen, and it's happened a couple of times over my 4 years, but really during this pandemic, I felt like, well, I got to watch what I'm writing, because I don't want it to come out as like an official, administrative word, that this is our stance, or this is our policy, or this is what we're going to do. So, it's really our ordinary media, our newspaper media, radio, internet media, whatever it may be, TV. It's really shifted a lot to them. I haven't been able to do as much, but I was so excited last Monday to, we kicked off our voluntary workouts, and I was there, for a majority of the day for our workouts. Unfortunately, we couldn't bring our media in because our campus is closed. And I got to write a story about it, and I was in there talking to Mike Hamrick about it, and I was just so excited. And he was like, "Because you finally had something to write about, like you finally had something you could go and do." And it just felt really good to kind of get back out there and have something of substance to share with everyone.
You've got a captive audience, because, again, the media, as you mentioned, couldn't come in.
Mm-hmm.
You've got it all. I mean, this is Chuck McGill right where he wants it all. He's got everybody's eyes and ears now. We focus on you, Chuck.
Well, but I love the media. I mean, my wife works at the Herald-Dispatch. I willingly come on your show all the time. I'm a big fan of, we have television partner, with IMG that we work with, and I'm a big fan of the other stations and all the exposure they provide for Marshall athletics. It's crucial. We've got to have as much media exposure as possible. I'm just one voice from the inside, and yes, I have the privilege of kind of getting a behind the scenes look all the time, and it's a bit of a blessing and a curse, because there's so much that I can't share, and that not meaning that to sound bad, but there's a line that I can't cross, and a certain amount I have to withhold, and other stuff that's, I'm around our guys 24/7, and I'm around, I'm in senior staff meetings, and, I'm in voluntary workouts. And, when I do have those opportunities, I like to shine, light on what we're doing.
Chuck McGill's my guest. He, of course, is the fancy title is the Assistant Athletic Director for Fan Donor Engagement and Communications. And, of course, you know him for all his years covering the Herd, He has done fantastic work. He's now in a position where he gets to tell some unique stories, and I know that's got to be the challenge for you because you're not just a storyteller now. You have to actually, which is maybe this is why the position's perfect for you. You get to engage fans as part of your title, and I know you enjoy that part because you get to really interact with people more than just telling stories. You get to do that, and you get to interact.
Yeah, it's a lot like my role as sports editor when I was in newspapers. I had 3 years as a sports editor in Virginia, and I was 4 years as a sports editor in Charleston, 3 with the Daily Mail, and 1 when the Daily Mail combined with the Gazette to create the Gazette Mail. And what I mean by that is it's much more behind the scenes. My name's not on everything. So you're part of the creative process, but you're collaborating with so many people to create what we're putting out as our message. So it could be a video feature for social media. It could be a story. It could be, whatever. And I love that role in the process of just getting together with our team and coming up, with something that we can put out for our fans and that they'll, like you said, engage with and react to. And whether it's, trivia on Tuesdays or, videos looking back at football games of the past or having Jake Griffith pop over and interview John Jaska, talking to him about everything. So many ways to go with it.
By the way, that was a great interview because we followed. I mean, we had to have him on also. I couldn't let Jake just have all the spotlight there. I had to have him on as well. But yeah, you guys have been putting out some really interesting content. My question to you now is, have you saved something back? Because if you're burning through all the good stuff now, the challenge is we got to keep going. And we're not even close to football season yet. We still have several months, and I know you want to save something, right? Or are you just burning right through it and just the challenge is, okay, let's find something new?
Well, to be quite frank, one of the things that we try to do right now as an external team, like I said, we're going toward this as a best case scenario. The best case scenario is that we're in that stadium, in September for 6 home games, and that we're at capacity. We're selling as many tickets as we can. So our job as an external team is to sell tickets to generate revenue, and so now is that time. We just finished our renewal period. We're going to open season tickets up here on June 11th, for wide sell, and so it's about promoting our product, promoting the best schedule, arguably that Marshall's ever had. Certainly the best non-conference home schedule with Boise State and Pitt. You've got an offensive line with 118 starts back among 5 guys. You've got the Conference USA most valuable player. You've got a pretty good defense coming back. So there's a lot of reasons to be excited, and the way we got to approach it is, we want to get people excited now. We want to be excited in June and July, so when we get to August and September, we can just keep that going.
Chuck McGill's joining me, and you have, as you mentioned, you've got this unique perspective, this unique behind-the-scenes look at Marshall, and does this weigh on you at times? Because I know you're a person that likes to tell stories, and I'm sure there are probably some stories that you could tell right now that would be amazing, but you've got to bite your tongue, as you mentioned earlier. You can't really say. I mean, what's the challenge there? Because honestly, Chuck, you've got the sweet seat. You see things from a perspective that not many people get to see.
It's never bothered me because coming to Marshall in this capacity in 2016 kind of brought everything in my life together. I went to college initially and got my bachelor's degree in sport management. So I started out, really learning about athletic administration. And I thought there was a chance someday I could go there. I started to dabble in writing. I got really involved with that. And my kind of career went that way and led me away from my college degree. So to be able to come back and be able to apply, marry where I started this in 1999, with my degree, and be able to still write and then start adding all these components to it, like our digital network, our social media. Tyler Abel and I work hand in hand to cover all of our, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now integrating a little bit of TikTok into the mix here. So, there's so many things that we have our hands in, from a marketing standpoint, from a messaging standpoint, the magazine Thundering Herd Illustrated. There's so many things I get to do. I don't really sit around and think about, the part of me that doesn't get to do this or that, because you're part of something so much bigger than yourself. You get relationships with so many different people, whether it's student athletes, the media, the fan base, and then of course the people we work with, people in the community, businesses. It's so special for me to what I get to do at Marshall now, and the way that it's brought everything that I've ever loved about sports and about people together.
Chuck McGill is my guest, Marshall University. He is the Assistant Athletic Director for Fan Donor Engagement and Communications. We need to come up with just like an acronym for you. That's a long title. I mean, you've earned every part of it, but we got to come up with like an acronym.
I'm just glad when I added the Herd Vision element in about a year ago when Aaron Goebel left, I'm just glad it didn't change. I thought, they're going to add some other title to this, but I was able to keep it that short. So, which is great, because the little sign on my door, it's already in super tiny font. You can barely see it.
You going to TikTok that, by the way, since that seems to be your new platform? You're the head TikToker at Marshall.
I like TikTok. I don't know if I'm the head TikToker, but we started out with it. We reserved that Herd Zone handle, but we weren't sure if we wanted to venture into another platform. We have 3 very specific platforms in Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and 3 different kinds of segments of the fan base, and we weren't sure what to do with TikTok. But I think we're starting to get some ideas now between Tyler Abel and I of how we can implement this when the season rolls around, because there's where the good behind the scenes stuff comes from. Because you're on the road with the team, you're in the hotel on Friday nights, you're on the planes, you're at practices, you're in the locker room. So there's all kinds of opportunities to create content that brings our student athletes to our fans.
I'm not there on TikTok yet. I'm thinking about joining, because Bill Cornwell, is not on that platform yet. And it used to be, Chuck, years ago, I would join a platform, and then when Bill would join that platform, I would move to the next one.
I understand.
I'm running out of platforms, so I guess I'm going to have to migrate to TikTok now.
Well, listen, my son made 2 yesterday.
Really?
So, yeah, I mean, he's ready to blow up. So,
you monetizing him? Can you monetize him? Is he at the right age to monetize?
I might be able to eventually. I mean, he's going to be. He's probably people already refer to me as Gunner's dad. So, I'm already in his shadow.
What kind of videos does he make?
Yesterday there were 2 dancing videos. They were on my TikTok, but he hears songs when I scroll through, and then he wants to make something off of those songs. So they're mostly dancing, not a lot of creativity, just letting the music take over.
Will Doc Holliday ever make a TikTok?
So that's I will send you a screenshot when we get off the air. Within the past week, I sent a text to Tyler Abel that said that was my 2020 football season goal, was to get Doc on TikTok. Not a Doc Holliday account on TikTok, just his face doing something in a TikTok video. So
that would be the greatest. That would be the greatest accomplishment of your career. And there's some pretty notable things in that career, Chuck. That would be. I would
put it at the top of the bio for sure.
Yeah, I'm telling you that would be Chuck McGill. Forget the awards, accolades, everything else. No, got Doc Holliday on TikTok. That would be so priceless.
Well, it was clutch because this was our second year doing the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl. The first year, I really lamented not being able to get Doc onto a tractor, and when they invited us to come to their bowl game again, I said, I'm not going to squander this again. So we were there. I said, Doc, I got to get you on a tractor. And he was like, okay. And we got him on a tractor. And I took a picture, and that's all I wanted. So we're baby steps, Paul. We got to take these baby steps, get him on a tractor, then fast forward a year, get him on TikTok. That's the natural progression for this.
Okay. I'm looking forward to this. I like where this is going, Chuck. I really do. I mean, I'm going to join TikTok now just because I want to be there when it happens. I really do.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll follow. Herd will be the first account that I follow. That'll be my goal.
Okay.
I don't still know what I have to do on TikTok. I don't know if I'm just going to be an observer. I mean, is that cool? I don't know if I'm doing a dance video. I'm sorry.
No, you can just observe. Just scroll through and like what you like and enjoy it.
Chuck McGill's my guest. All right, now I got to ask you some serious questions here.
Sure.
All right, this is this might be some inside information. I'm hoping you can leak it to me. But beach volleyball. Can that happen at Marshall? Can we get that eventually? Can we make that happen?
I don't know, but I mean, all options are on the table.
Right?
I mean, what you're trying to do right now is anything you can to, of course, boost enrollment, boost Marshall's profile. You know, we've expanded our cheerleading squad, and we should, expanded our dance team. There's some other things in the work to expand on current teams. So yeah, I mean, shoot, let's get beach volleyball.
I like it. I mean, it's on the table. Let's do it.
I mean, I'm not saying that's a realistic option. I'm just saying that if that's what Paul wants, I'll take it to the desk of the AD and see what can happen.
I have a better shot with that than I do hockey. You know that.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right.
Way better. I mean, what's it going to take to get that? I mean, what?
But you got to get Ari on here and just ask her.
I'll ask her, but I'm asking you because you're the guy that makes everything happen. You make the magic happen.
No. You act like I'm sitting. I'm like Hamrick's co-pilot here. I've seen the guy maybe 30 minutes a week for the past 2 months, so I'm not the best source.
Chuck, you give yourself too little credit. You know this. You give yourself too little credit. I mean, come on. Who makes the magic happen, right? It's Chuck McGill.
No, I think you're overestimating me. I was kind of shocked you asked me to be on, to be honest.
Hey, look, we want only the best on the show, and that means you.
Okay.
Period. I mean, that means you. I mean, this is we could ask anybody. I mean, come on, anybody. We could be on the show and be like, yeah, but no. We have an obligation to make sure that we have the very best on this show. And, sir, that means you.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it any compliment I can get right now.
Chuck McGill's my guest.
So.
I'm sure we could have some fun conversations that would include not being on the air, and we should have those soon. But I'm looking forward to maybe we'll get to see you in a few months. Maybe if all possible, we'll be in the press box. And if that's the case, maybe I'll make the cut list because I'm sure there's a cut list, right? I mean, you've gamed that. I know you've gamed it.
I have no idea where this is going to go. You are thinking way too far ahead.
Okay, fair enough.
We're still in a survive and advance every day mode, and you're jumping all the way to the end. So let's get through June.
Okay, June.
Let's get our other sports back. Let's get a start date for football for mandatory workouts, which seems like we're getting closer there, and then we'll start talking about. We'll get Courier on. Okay.
Okay.
And we'll figure out how we're going to map a press box while we can social distance.
Okay.
So.
I want to make sure that I'm on the other side of Cornwell. That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
You make that happen for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I'm good. That's it. That's my first request. The other request I'll make in private.
All right. Sounds good.
Chuck McGill, my guest. Hey man, good talking to you. Thank you for doing it again. I appreciate it. And we'll hopefully have you back on soon. Maybe you can come over and host sometime. How about that?
Hey, whatever you want.
Whatever I want.
Yep.
Okay. Let's make sure I have that recorded. Right. Whatever I want. I appreciate it.
Yep. You got it. All right. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, sir. Chuck McGill joining us. You heard that. Whatever I want from the Assistant Athletic Director for Fan Donor Engagement and Communications. So we will come back with more here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Welcome back to the Monday, June 8th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Keeping you updated on what's happening across Conference USA. UTEP Athletics announcing something called Pay Dirt's Pledge earlier this week. Check this out. It sounds familiar. It's a promise to protect season ticket holders in the event seasons are modified or canceled due to COVID-19. The department is saying that if one or more home games are canceled, fans will receive a prorated refund. If an entire season is canceled, fans will receive a full refund. Pay Dirt's pledge will allow UTEP sports fans to purchase season tickets without worrying whether they'll be able to recuperate costs if changes occur to the regular season home dates. Fans can opt to receive a monetary refund or apply their refund to the 2021-22 season tickets, or make a donation to the minor athletic club in support of student-athlete scholarships. I've heard this before. This seems to be the standard model, and actually it's a good model. If I buy a season ticket, I will be guaranteed either that in the event that the season ticket is no good, there's no games, that money's going to be moved over. I can apply it towards next season. I can apply it towards the scholarship fund. I can get a refund. I didn't think that universities were going to just sit on your season ticket money. And I understand there's probably some apprehension. Maybe you don't want to make that commitment, but at the same time, if you're going to buy your season tickets the following year, might as well buy them now. I've always thought, okay, I'm going to do it anyway, so there'll just be a carryover. Because you're guaranteeing your spot for the most part. And, of course, there's going to be an opportunity for new season tickets to be purchased. Again, I'm encouraging folks, if you are concerned that capacity of the stadium is going to be limited or lessened, and you want to guarantee that you're pretty much going to be at the game, whatever the seating capacity may be, get your season ticket. Get your season ticket. Plus, it's going to help release. Tickets are important for the university. That's one way you can help support Marshall. If you're looking for ways to support Marshall, here's a way. Because university has announced some pay reduction, no jobs cut as of right now. But university has made some announcements, but you haven't seen anything come out that Marshall is cutting programs, Marshall is reducing staff. You haven't seen that come out. You want to continue to maybe see the program thrive, well, just go about what you normally do. That's my suggestion. If you're looking for ways to help the university, or if you're going to have a wait-and-see attitude, that's fine. I mean, it's fair as well, completely. But if you're a season ticket holder, this is a no-brainer because you're going to get your money back, or you can apply it towards the next season, and in a sense, you're getting your money back. You're just moving it forward. And I'm sure whenever and whatever happens, whenever it happens, whatever happens, you having season tickets is going to put you in a better spot as far as being able to get in the stadium, because nobody knows what's going to happen. Are we going to all have to wear masks? I mean, I agree with Chuck McGill's stance earlier in the segment. Like, look, it's advance and survive. I mean, that's a sports mentality right there. He's looking at it, okay, advance and survive, day to day, week by week, month to month. And that's probably the best attitude to have, especially, as he mentioned, college athletics, college departments, universities all across the country, they are operating with the goal of operating as they normally would. Season's going to start on time and make adjustments as need be. We're going to wrap up today's edition of the program when we continue. I'm Paul Swann. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're wrapping up today's edition for Monday, June 8th, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Do want to mention this before we call it a day. Former Cincinnati Bengals standout Ken Riley passing away on Sunday. He was the head coach and, of course, the athletic director at his school, Florida A&M. Passed away on Sunday. He was 72. Played 15 seasons for the Cincinnati Bengals as a defensive back. Had 65 career interceptions for 596 yards and 5 touchdowns. All franchise records. His interceptions rank 5th in the NFL all time, and he's also credited with 18 recovered fumbles. And, of course, this is a guy who was actually a 4-year starter at Florida A&M. He was a 4-year starter at FAMU and he was chosen 6th round out of the 1969 draft by the Bengals. Paul Brown doing the drafting there, converted him to cornerback, and you couldn't, at the time, really draft him for what he was position-wise. Because in 1969, very, very unheard of, very rare, very didn't happen to have a black athlete as a starting cornerback in the NFL, a starting quarterback in the NFL. Riley retired in 1983. If this would have been today, he would have had an opportunity to play quarterback in the NFL. So please make note of him. If you're a Bengals fan, he was a tremendous one for the Bengals. Of course, he retired in 1983, so I did get to glimpse him. Of course, I was born a few years after he was drafted, so as a child, being a Bengals fan, of course, I did know the name of Ken Riley. So Ken Riley passing away at the age of 72. One of the big-time Bengals, really, seriously. Ken Riley, that's when you think of all-time Bengals, you got to think of this guy, definitely. On the defensive side, I mean, come on, 65 career interceptions, 5 touchdowns. I mean, 65 career interceptions, 5th NFL all-time. That's a pretty big number there, especially in that day and age. I mean, I'm not sure they were airing it out the way they are today. So not as many opportunities. Some offenses never run the ball. They throw, and throw. And a guy like him probably would have feasted on an offense like that. So the Bengals, I'll say this about the Bengals. Right now, they're doing things right. I don't know how much longer that's going to last, but they're doing things right. Especially with Joe Burrow, the way that he is taking a leadership role. Of course, with Andy Dalton gone, Burrow, we were gonna find out real quick with Andy Dalton gone if Burrow could step up and put himself in that leadership role as a quarterback, if the team would respond to him. And so far on social media, at least, Burrow has been killing it. He has taken opportunity to really endear himself, and I don't think it's an act. He's endeared himself. He has understood the issues that are going on right now, especially with the climate that we are in. He has definitely earned the respect of some of his new teammates. They appreciate where he's coming from. I mean, this is a guy, I think, if this is how he is on a day-to-day basis, we're going to see him be a successful leader in Cincinnati. Unfortunately for Drew Brees, who has an opinion as well, wasn't well received. And Drew is basically trying to fight his way back, best way to describe that, trying to put himself in a position where, okay, people look at him and see him as a team leader. Because right now, I don't know what Drew Brees' dynamics going to look like when the team is together. And, of course, he had his opinion. Joe Burrow has got his 2 different perspectives, 2 different ways of going about things right now. Guy like Drew Brees, not as social media friendly. That's the key right there. Honestly, I think some of the younger guys, they get it. They have a better idea, a better understanding of the pulse of social media, how to use it. You think Drew Brees is really the guy you go to if I want Twitter tips? Pretty much not. That's going to do it for this edition of the program. Back tomorrow. I want to thank my guest, Chuck McGill, who does know what he's doing on social media. I appreciate him. Our producer, Spencer Dupuis. Back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Good night, everyone.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.